on the island, and social media influencer Reno and Macaroni leading it at Ikeja. I'm very anxious right now, so just bear with me. So this is the first time actually I'm seeing any protest happen in Nigeria. Any massive protest happen in Nigeria. Probably the last I read about was, I wasn't born then. So it was an exciting moment. I mean, a whole lot of us in church had to go for the protest. Personally, I was so happy when I saw Pastor Tolu on the protest ground. Can we clap for our pastor, please? And we had many of our members go for the protest, and it was beautiful seeing the pictures, seeing the passion and all of it. I went for the protest as well, and as a matter of fact, I had protest food. I had shawarma and hot donuts and ginger drink. I was about to have the turkey, but then I had to go home. But like, it was really, I was full. But apart from the food and the glitz and the glamour of the protest, we are doing a good thing in this country, and I'm happy to be discussing this with my amazing panelists. So, Esosa, what did you see about the protest that happened? Like, when it started, what was the reaction like?
Okay. I guess, like you said, it was something that had reached a fever pitch. People are tired.
Okay.
We're in a place where, as a young person, it's really hard to make ends meet, and then we all like just go, okay, we move, and you try to make the best of what is available, what you can do, and then you have a government of ancient relics that just want to. The people in government are people that have been in government since Nigeria started.
Actually.
So, like, they've done everything to basically suffocate the things you can do for yourself. So, like, you have to drop, you're paying this person, you're paying that person, you're paying this person, you're paying that person for something that shouldn't cost as much. So your cost of production, if you're an entrepreneur, is extremely high for things you probably would produce for half the price in a working system. So, obviously, it made me happy that young people finally had found their voices, and like it wasn't a thing of the thing that children cannot see standing up, elders will see sitting. People were ready to fly their drones to find whatever it is the elders were saying. So it's refreshing to see.
Thank you for that, Esosa. Thank you. It is actually refreshing to see. Speaking about the protest, there were a lot of people who wanted to attend the protest, but because of parents' restrictions, they could not attend the protest. So, Dominion, how did you have to tell your mother?
Okay,
how did you have to tell your mother that you were going for a protest? Did you tell her about your experience, or have you had an experience being harassed? By the SARS.
Okay, so I've told them about my experience with SARS. About joining the protests. Well, it was war. So the first time I joined was on a Sunday. I think that day my dad dropped me off to church. I told him I was going to go for a prayer walk and then the protest after. And then he was like, okay, be careful and all that stuff. And then I got home. And then, well, it was war when I got home, Sha. So like, I saw my grandmom stays with us. And then I got home at like past 9. My grandmom and my mom. And then it was, where are you coming from? Protests. What are you, a child of God, doing there?
We will get back to this child of God one. But when they were when they were not really happy that you went for the protest, did you explain to them that you've been harassed by these people you're protesting against?
Okay, so I had told them before, and then I said it again, and then they still kind of insisted that child of God, child of God, child of God. And then you're protesting with criminals and cultists and 419 guys. So that...
Okay.
So it was...
It was a struggle, yeah.
We had a shouting contest. So like it was... before I went to sleep, and then the next day again. I didn't go the next day. They were still bringing up child of God, child of God.
So how many days did you go for this protest? How many days did you go for the protest?
Thrice, yeah.
At Alausa?
Yeah.
Well, I did go for a protest, but when I went, I did not let my mother know. My mother was all in for the protest, but you don't just go, but let them protest, but you don't go. You stay at home, but let them protest. So the day I was going to go, I told her that, I have to go and see a movie. And that was the day the hoodlums attacked Alausa. So I was going like, hey, God, man, no go die, you. I better go, now movie, I won't go watch. So I was at Airport Road. That's where we had our own, protest. And I was protesting with them on the road, yeah? But, people were taking video cameras and all that, and I was shading myself, using my placard to cover my face, so it's not going to show on AI to that. Obviously, this not you. It is not your movie, oh. But it was a life-changing experience. Speaking about the protest, Israel, what do you think were our major wins in this protest? Do you think we're able to achieve our primary goal? No pressure.
Okay. Well, I think where we missed it was because this is a long-term goal.
Not where we missed it. What were our major wins?
Okay.
Were we able to achieve our goal?
Okay, the major wins I would say is there was unity amongst the youth.
Yeah.
As to our demands, not exactly, not all were achieved. But for me, I would say the major win is just unity among the youth.
Okay, thank you. So what would you describe were the places that we missed it, according to you?
Okay. So I think, okay, I'll put it this way. So in one of my talks, I talked about how we live in a generation where everyone gets things really quickly. And we are fighting a government where as much as we are so excited about tech and excited about social media, it's not the same way for them, right? Because they have the fundamentals in terms of even if you go out with your beautiful, because there were a lot of beautiful stuff out there. There were pictures, there were videos. I couldn't go out to protest. Why? Because the system had failed me. Why? Because 2 weeks ago, I lost my uncle on my watch. He died of SS, right? And some other complications. And I literally watched my uncle driving, right? He was at a car battling for his life, and we went to various hospitals, and they gave us the same excuse as to there was no space and all of that stuff. And so I watched my uncle for about close to 1 hour, 2 hours, died, right? And the other time when I go to a private hospital, I heard stuff like, we're coming, we want to wash the stretcher. And before they could wash the
stretchers.
Exactly, exactly. Sound to work, right? But I faced all of those things. So coming back to Lagos, I was excited about what I was seeing, but I knew that this was a long-term stuff. It's not about the fancy placards and the awesome videos. Yes, I share them on my platform, but for me, I've always known it's not really about all of those things, because these people that were fighting they are bigger than all of these beautiful strategies that we have.
Yeah, quite sadly, but I feel like the placards are really beautiful, by the way. I saw one that said, make una dey share plenty guys for protest ground, I beg. Okay, we had a lot of people come up to say they want to support the, they want to fund, they want to help out, they want to volunteer, they want to. Feminist Co was like the most popular organization that I know that we're really at the forefront. So Ronke, what do you feel about all of these platforms and the individual donors and Jack of Twitter that came out to support the movement?
First off, I think there was more to the NSAS movement than what we were all saying NSAS. If you ask me, I think it was accumulated frustration from our generation, right? If you look at it, at the beginning, I know you started at Alausa with Mr. Macaroni and Co, right? I mean, you could see the frustration in them. I tend not to be so active in social media for all these kind of things, but I was just hearing them and their NSAS, and I looked into it, right? When older generations heard at first, it was like, people are wasting your time, it won't work. Yeah, but then along the line, you will find them coming out. Along the line, you will find that the narrative kind of changed such that people started seeing reason to standing up. People started coming out to say, oh, it's not just SARS. Oh, at work too. Oh, the government. Oh, all these things. And then it pushed people to come out to speak, right? And people coming out to speak now, got people. I don't want to say, maybe, I don't want to use the word rich, but people that felt the frustration of Nigerians, that really wanted to support, that really wanted our voice to be heard. Because if you look at it, most of all these people that gave donations, they gave the donations because they know the true pain that Nigerians are going through. They know what it is to be standing there in the sun, doing all these things, just their own way of supporting us. And I like the fact that all the persons that came out to donate, we went overboard. We went to show the world such that individuals can do this in this number of days and our governments are just there, right? I feel like that's a huge win for us. We got that international publicity. We got the international body to know that if individuals can do this, these are people that are not even earning as much as our senators are earning. These are people that are just going through their normal life, still struggling and going through all the processes that are not working, that this government make them go through. Yeah. But they can still do this for Nigerians in how many days? It got us to determine that, to show that to the world, that even got older generations to come into all these protests. So if you ask me, I feel it was a major win. I really appreciate every single donor that came out there because their donations and their commitment in all of this, raised our voice. Right?
Thank you. That was a very wonderful answer. So at the beginning of the protest, nobody was listening to us. Even the governments weren't listening to us. They just let us do our thing. They thought that after a day or 2 or 3 days, we would give up and go back. But going to the 4th day, the 5th day, the 6th day, we started seeing response from the government, and these weren't favorable responses. We saw in Abuja, they used water cannons on the protesters, they shot tear gas at them, they arrested people doing prayer walks, they sent hoodlums to Ikeja, and all of these terrible things. People were at Alausa for overnight protests. They brutalized them. They off all the lights on Alausa. There is always light there. The government responded in a very funny way. So, Kola, what did you see about the way the government responded to this? What would you have had them do?
Oh, well, the Nigerian government always responds like Nigerian government from history. This is not the first time that we had, a major uprising. If you talk about the Aba women's protest, the June 12th protest, even as recent as when they gave birth to me, and you will see that, Nigeria as a country has been fighting the same powers in high places, the same set of people, the same names, the same principalities, the same system. And you will find out that the fight is just the same thing. Basically, our parents said, give us good governance. Do not annul our elections. Please don't kill us. It has gotten to the part where we are saying, hey, power now, please, just don't kill us. You can do the rest, but please don't kill us. And really, it's just incompetence, because if you look at it, a situation that is really, really simple to handle, just was blown, was marred by incompetence. All you needed to do was commit to some level of police reforms, and everybody will say, oh, you are trying. Just do that after 3 days. People will be like, you are trying. And the funny thing is, the game has changed in the sense that it is very difficult to oppress a group of people nowadays than it was before.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
So can you let us know why do you think it's difficult?
The thing is, during June 12th or the Aba women's protest, you can say that the government controls all the mediums, all the channels of communication. Once they bring out one, order, or give the broadcasting stations one order, if you report this, we will block you. That's the end. Nobody's going to see anything. But now you see, Nigerians finding our voice on social media, their new enemy, faster than, the traditional media. We got the owner of Twitter, we got the former Secretary General of the United States, and we even got the United States, to actually write Abuja before NTA reported that there was a protest.
That's wild.
He had pictures in real time. The government would deny this and deny that, but he had pictures. You cannot Photoshop a live a live
They
video.
said it was fake news.
You cannot Photoshop a live video. You cannot Photoshop people's place. I mean, in different angles, different recordings. It's very difficult to tell a lie now than it was, some years ago. And this actually makes it. This means that we can hold the government,
Accountable.
more accountable. And although it's going to be a very long one,
Definitely.
but we have a little bit of an edge.
Thank you.
This time.
Thank you for that. And while Kola was talking, Dominion was saying, I disagree. So could you let us know what you disagreed with Kola about?
Okay, so Kola mentioned at some point, I think he attributed the Nigerian government's response to incompetence, and he reasons that that's the reason why we've been protesting the same issue over and over. But I always disagree with that. I know the government can be competent when they want to. I've seen I know of someone who his phone got stolen. Pretty random. His phone got stolen at a popular place in Lagos at CMS, and then he made some calls. They found the person who took the phone and brought it back to him the next day. That's in CMS with all those movement thugs. So there's a well-coordinated network, and there are certain people in certain places that can get things done if they want to. Same thing with our police, same thing with our army. So I don't think they are incompetent. I always say this, it's deliberate wickedness.
Actually.
Stalin, I think it was Stalin who gave the analogy of this chicken where you rip off all the feathers. So I think that's what they try to do. It's easier to control a poor, hungry person than someone who's well-fed. So it's not rocket science. You don't have to be a smart economist to know that when you're a net exporter to your region, shutting your borders is absolute nonsense. You don't have to be a genius economist to know that. But for some reason, we did it. We're still doing it. Our borders are shut. We are our government claims that they will support this woman, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
Before you reach that stage, let me off your mic. Let me off your mic. So, on the 20th of October, something very painful happened for the protesters at Lekki toll gates, and it is what we call the Lekki massacre. It happened that the armies went there and massacred them. We do not still have the correct statistics of the amount of people that died at the Lekki massacre, so I would not be giving any numbers, but it was a very... We should forget it. We can't get it, yeah? So I want to talk to you, Ronke, about the Lekki massacre. When you heard about it, how did you feel?
I think that night it's a very touching night for me because for some reason I was just off social media. Okay. For some reason I was off social media, and then someone from the office just called and said, "Hi Ronke, your team that went to Lekki today, are they back?" And I'm like, I think they should be back. And she was like, "Oh my God, there's protest happening in Lekki." I'm like, we all know that. And then she's like, "They are killing people. Watch DJ Switch Instagram live." And I'm like, "Send me the link." And I remember that when I joined the live, they were trying to get a life bullet out of someone. And at that point in time, I was extremely terrified. And I'm like, how did a peaceful... Sorry. And I'm like, how did a peaceful protest reach this stage? How? I remember crying that night such that my friend had to come into the room and she was like, "What's happening?" And began to just reflect back at all that happened. Why was the light even off in the first place? Why would the government shoot at civilians holding the flag? Why would anything like this ever happen? Then I just began to question a lot. I found it hard to pray that night, but I did, right? And I watched that life till the end. And it just... Sorry.
Take your time. It's fine.
It's something that I believe as Nigerians we need answers to. We need to get that closure. There are families that went out there, just like Dominion said. His parents were saying, child of God. My parents called me several times because my dad is a civil officer as well. And when all of this happened, I had a phone conversation with him. And it was like, he's happy that we're coming out to speak. But it's just painful that we're going to end up in the same place. They are going to keep quiet, and when they speak, they are going to shut us down. They are going to do all of this. But in everything I do, he's not saying I shouldn't protest. I should not just find myself physically there. That was all he said. And I told him, Daddy, you don't know. Maybe because we didn't tell you that this also happened to your son. And he said, who? I said, Samuel. He was harassed by SARS. That incident happened. I was at work. I was terrified. He called me. It was like, I 55K, I 55K. If my brother calls like that, it was very terrifying. I had to send him the money. He called again. I'm like, what's happening? And he was like, SARS. Like, Baolushi Debe, how did you even get SARS? And I explained the whole narrative to him, and he became mad. And the question I asked him was, so it had to happen to you for you to feel the need to be agitated in this movement? Jokingly, and it was like, no, just go, but just be careful, and all of that. When it happened, I screen recorded the Lekki massacre, and I dropped on our family group chat. And for a while, nobody spoke. And then the next day, my mom sent a voice note crying, apologizing about how she didn't encourage us to go out there, that she didn't know that it was up to this. And the next question she asked was, so who ordered it? They have to give us that closure. We need it. How many people died that day? There's on Twitter, there are still people that we are finding them till today. And it's wrong. And our government, they are saying nothing about it. Inspector Fashola, or what did he call himself, that went to find camera. We are not stupid. When I saw that, I was agitated. Do they think we are stupid? This is the 21st century. For the love of Christ, they don't do that. And it's painful that the way things are going, it might just die down, right? They might just look for a way to close it. But like Kola said, we have a powerful tool, which is the social media, that would still help us gain that justice. The government might try to do the same old thing that they do and cover it up. But we know that we'll keep speaking about it.
Yes,
we'll keep speaking about it.
That was really... to contribute to what Ronke said, Israel has something to say.
All right, so I'll make this very brief, but I just want to pass a message. So there's something people say, I think it's in a movie, they said power is power, right? And that's the honest truth. We have really beautiful tools, but we must understand these statements because it should... Because when that... Okay, let me give you a simple example. So I was on a business trip, so I flew down. So I couldn't fly to that particular state because the airport was still under construction. So I landed at the other airport. So they came to pick me with escort and everything, right? And I can remember we were passing. There were lots of police checkpoints and everything, but for a good reason, our car was never stopped. I went to my hotel room. Then when I was flying back again, so the same route, and they were stopping vehicles, but they did not stop. And in my head, I was like, God, if only I had this much, influence and power down in Lagos. So it only just made me, it kind of like fired something in me, right? Meaning that I think this is why we are all gathered here as Christians, because the honest truth is, when I hear people say, you can't, Christians should not be involved in politics, I do not support that statement, right? Because
we don't here too. We don't support that statement in this Green Church.
Great, that's really great, right? Okay, so I'll put it this way. So even way back in school in Covenant University, we had student union. Oh, sorry, what's that called? No, not student union. We had a student council. So student council, that was like the politics.
Just
for
to chip in,
CU.
we have 3 CU graduates. 1, 2, 3. But you can
Right?
go on.
I would say, yeah, no, exactly. That was like as if they appointed those people, but more or less they were in charge of a lot of things. But I told myself that I do not want to be part of this, but I want to be someone who would influence something in school, but yet still be recognized, right? So I went up to become the president for Network for African Student Entrepreneurs, meaning that I wasn't exactly around among the, say, student council, but I was a business leader to an extent that if there were any activity that had to do with entrepreneurship in school and activities, I had to be part of it. And in my own way, I was winning. And in my own way, I was influencing and helping small businesses develop, meaning that it's not a one-man game, right? What happened for NSAS is a long-term game. It's like Matuka King said something. He said, if you're going to be the best, beautician, then be the
Pastor
best
Tolu says
Negro.
this thing all the time.
Be the best Negro beautician, right? So we need to be the best at what we do because each and everyone has the role to play. If you look at, I'll make it very brief. Let me just say something briefly.
Let me cut you off there. Don't round up. So Esosa asked something to say, but after you're done, I want to ask you a question. My question is, we appointed 2 representatives, Reno Ola, who is a social media influencer, and Temi, who is a lawyer. So after you give your, he is a lawyer. They said he was a lawyer on social media, or he isn't. He's not a lawyer again. So I want you to say, when you give your contribution, what do you think about the representatives that were chosen to represent us, the youth representatives for the Lagos Judicial Panel? What do you think about them? And if you were to choose 2 people, would you have chosen them or some other people?
So, what I was going to say, when it was basically backing off what Ronke was saying about the massacre. Now, the thing is, everybody on this, I think we all agree that, or rather, we all know that this isn't, that what NSARS wasn't, like she said, it became something bigger. At first, we're just asking them to stop a police unit that was profiling and killing people. And then they weren't listening, and everyone's like, fine, everybody can catch smoke, and we're going to table all your since like that's, so that's what it has become. And I think all of us recognize that it is not a short-term fight. And like I just wanted, there was something you said about how it's not about placards. I think we can do both. So like people can take the streets, people cause gridlock traffic, and let everybody feel the discomfort, and we can still make like political changes. Do you understand? Now, like basically what I wanted to say was, I watched DJ Switch's live. I was on Twitter. I now saw like, oh, you guys, this is happening. And then I went to the live. I watched them remove that bullet, and I watched that guy die on live. Something died inside me when I watched it. And to come and then to listen to the address given the day after, and listen to the governor of the state say there were no fatalities, was nothing. It was so heartbreaking. Like, we watched people die. There were people jumping into water to escape bullets, and they were shooting into the water to make sure the people swimming away for their lives died. There are corpses being washed ashore as we speak. There was one, they found one yesterday.
Yeah, I saw yesterday.
But like, you will come and address people and then say to them, to people you killed, that, oh, there were no fatalities. And the thing is, I just want to say, like, there is nobody in government right now that is not complicit to the murders that have taken place during this protest. There's no single person. I don't care how Christian the person is. I don't care what level of law that person has gotten to. And I don't care if they are second in command. They are complicit. Because, like,
don't do that.
I'm not going to mention, but we all know who specifically I'm talking about. And when people try to venerate him and say, oh, his hands are tied. With what? Chains? Because you can resign. It's a statement. You can resign. If you resign and the international community that's watching your country sees that, oh, it's so bad, this person that high up resigned, then they know that it's serious business. Nobody should come and be saying somebody's hand is tied. They use chain. Is it chain? They should find something. They should call welder and remove the chain. What kind of nonsense is that?
I think the welder didn't pick the call. Or something
the thing is, I don't want anybody to forget. Like when you watch the videos, it's very desensitizing when we see that much. That we're constantly, what's it called? We're constantly being fed this much trauma in such a short time. But while we take care of ourselves, address the trauma. Don't numb yourself. Allow yourself to feel. But don't forget the images you're seeing. Don't forget the things people are saying. Don't forget the reactions you're seeing. We have a speaker, what they call them, House of Reps. No.
Don't forget
I haven't forgotten your question. We have a speaker of the House of Reps that's supposed to be in prison, standing up to say, let's observe a moment of silence, but not for miscreants killed by the police. A man, like a criminal, is calling people fighting for their lives miscreants.
Alleged criminal.
Well, debatable, but the thing is, I don't want anybody to forget. Don't forget their names. Don't forget the reactions. Don't forget that they are holding Indomie.
They're
holding Indomie.
Intolerable.
Indomie. So, I don't want us to forget. Now, to your question, I couldn't watch that judicial panel, honestly. I couldn't watch beyond a certain point because it was, for me, a tad disappointing. I don't think questions were asked. The people, the representatives chosen, they didn't ask questions. It was, you know how the protests are decentralized. So in Lagos, people had died and everybody was for safety, it was step back, stay at home, regroup. And in other states, people who were safer were protesting. So it's not just a Lagos protest or an Abuja protest. It's a protest that is nationwide. So I feel given that platform, it was a place where take all the anger that you take to the streets, come with that same ginger and ask them pointed questions. A massacre happened. Who ordered it? Lights were off. Lights are lucky to they never go off. And if the lights go off, the billboard is on. The billboard was off. Who ordered that killing? Who allowed the military to go there? Keep in mind that military does not step into civilian matters. This is not a military, this is a civilian protest. The military will not shoot any force that isn't an enemy force, meaning they shouldn't even be on the road. But people were killed. So it's why I asked those questions, why they didn't ask questions. I think maybe it's because the people there didn't have a background in law. I think I would have preferred if the representatives had strong law backgrounds.
Okay.
That would be more appropriate.
Who would you have chosen if you have to choose two?
Fowles, hands down, I would have chosen because he's very vocal. Every time somebody in wherever has tried to take him to court, he knows the law. He has been doing that thing where he breaks down different laws concerning this on social media. So I would have picked him.
Fowles, what else?
FK
Abudu. Okay, so thank you for that. I think after the Lekki massacre and all of we had the Nigerian army say it was fake news, that they weren't there on their social media page. We had Somolu go to the hospitals of the injured protesters and do photo ops there and say, it was forces beyond its control. We had Tinubu say he doesn't have a hand in it. He didn't tell them to remove he didn't tell them to remove the camera or the light and all of that. And I think for all of us, we just wanted to know we weren't expecting much, but we wanted to know what our president had to say about this matter. Knowing the fact that apart from the killings in Lagos, the people in Abuja were really brutalized. They turned them to rats. It was depressing to see the videos from the Abuja protest. So we know that I don't think our expectations were really high, but we knew that even if it says something, it doesn't necessarily mean it was going to happen. But I think we all hoped for a reassurance of something from him. But unfortunately, when he made the broadcast, personally, I broke down. I was eating, and then I went to my room, and I was crying. I wasn't crying. I was weeping. It felt like I went from 100 to -10. I was down. I was tired. I'm like, oh my God. Disappointed, but not surprised. So, Kola, what did you feel about the president's speech? And we're wrapping this up after this question.
What did I think? Like you said, disappointed but not surprised. If there's anything that the Nigerian president has been consistent at doing, is showing that he's insensitive and out of touch with the country that he claims to govern. And that applies to the entire ruling class in Nigeria. They're out of touch, they're insensitive, and they're playing wicked. Now, my favorite proverb about truth. Yoruba will say ifiniwa.
Yeah.
But I always prefer to say truth is like fat. You can't hide it. And more so in this day where the government doesn't have monopoly on information anymore. And it's as simple as saying, someone who was saying nobody died, okay, we showed him people that have died.
So what do you feel about Buhari? Like, what was the feeling about Buhari's speech?
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, every Nigerian is their own president. We have no president in the center. We have somebody that seems to be in the semblance of, if you go ahead.
Let's not go there.
Thank
you very much.
But we don't have.
Thank you.
Honestly, we don't have a president.
Thank you.
So I'm not disappointed. I'm not surprised.
Disappointed, but not surprised.
I'm not even disappointed because he has shown,
track record.
He has shown, his track record is something I don't even want to talk about because.
Okay, so in a few minutes we'll be wrapping up this panel session. But before we go, I want to ask you, Israel, what do you think are action steps that we should take right now in furthering this cause? Because it seems now like people are resting. Like, what do you think are the action steps to take? Apart from the fact that we already have a judicial panel going on, which is only in Lagos. I don't know about other states. Do you have in other states too? Okay, so in some other states, I do not have the facts and figures right now, but what do you think are the action steps you take?
Okay.
Very brief.
Okay. I think we need to look inward. So inwards means you need to ask yourself core questions around what exactly are your own personal expectations and how does it tie along to the Nigerian dream. So if we can answer those questions in terms of our career, because let me just chip this in quickly. So during the Lekki massacre, do you know that I got a message from one of our leads in the office asking for my OKR? Exactly.
What does that mean?
OKR, yes, exactly.
What does that mean?
Okay, that's objective key result. So like what you are being measured by, your KPIs. I got it by like 8:50 something, and I was mad. And this was a leader, so it was obvious that she's aware of this because she stays on that these are big people, and she was asking for my OKR at that time. So it's not just a Buhari problem or a solo. We need to look inwards also and be able to be more human and also address your personal and career goals to tie down to the Nigerian dream. That's my.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will talk about the Nigerian dream later. Okay. Dominion, to just give a few words to wrap this up. Well, what did you feel about this conversation that we just had right now? And would you have us have more of this in this church? And do you think it is effective?
Well, I can't tell if it's effective right now. Would have to assess and see how people have assimilated and what they do going forward. Then we have conversations like this all the time, by the way. We just don't have it on camera. So
yeah, we do.
Yeah, we always have it. So I think it's good that we're doing it. More churches should do it. More religious houses should do it, really, because government, religion, they are literally the most powerful things in our country. So if the government wants to be crap, let the religious people do it right. And then they have so much influence to not get into this. So yeah, I think we should do more of this.
So can we give a round of applause for our panelists, please? Thank you guys so much for doing this with us.